This one is going to be headed by Santosh Wadekar. As a creative professional, Santosh wears many, many hats. Research on historic design period styles in Europe and India and architectural conservation and restoration are very close to his heart. As the head of his boutique studio SW, he has set international benchmarks in the high-end residential interior architecture segment with India's top H&I as clients. Give a huge round of applause for Mr. Santosh Wadekar, please, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can clap a lot louder for Mr. Santosh Wadekar over here. Thank you so much. Louder, exactly. That's the vibe that we want, right? Thank you so much, sir, for being with us over here. We really love your energy. Thank you. I'll be calling our speakers in alphabetical order. I welcome over here Jasmine Jhaveri, who is an interior stylist, visual storyteller, and chief designer and founder at Jasmine Jhaveri Design Studio. As a creative entrepreneur providing integrated design solutions for residential and commercial spaces. Apart from working with India's leading architects and interior designers pan-India, Jasmine has also styled villas in Amsterdam and London. Ladies and gentlemen, a louder round of applause, please, for Jasmine Jhaveri over here. Thank you so much, ma'am. We also have the presence of Kuber, Shah, who's a creative consultant, photographer. He's an industrial engineer turned social media consultant and an established photographer who extensively uses photography as a medium of expression. Give a huge round of applause for him as well, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We also have Nisha Jamvwal over here, who's a luxury consultant, interior architect, interiors columnist, and partner at Nisha Jamvwal Design, an expert brand consultant and strategist. She has experience in brand marketing and positioning, and she also writes on art, lifestyle, interiors, and fashion. Give a huge round of applause for Nisha Jamvwal as well, ladies and gentlemen. And when I say loud appreciation, can we please actually get loud over here in Mumbai? Thank you. We also have the presence of Sakina, Rangwala, partner, established PR firm, who's an experienced communication expert with an extensive knowledge of media and public relations in the architecture and design domain. Her career spanning over 2 decades has allowed her to work with some of the renowned design professionals like Sumesh Menon, Rajiv Parekh, Alfaz Miller, the First Ferry, NIFT, St. Mary's School, Flame Block, amongst many others. The panel is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge shout out and a huge round of applause for this panel as I pass it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Hello. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm sure it's a very, very long session for y'all. So I feel a lot of people have gone for a coffee break at the moment, but no worries. Our session is going to be very interesting. People will be back to hear us. So I am architect Santosh Wadekar. Very happy to welcome you on board for this very insightful and interesting session that we have called the Collaterals of the Business of Design. Very interesting and a very unique concept is what we are noticing, especially this will be of a lot of interest to designers, the way we have been doing our business over the last few years has changed drastically. I am in the industry for close to 30 years now, and I know what was done earlier is now completely topsy-turvy. It's in a different league by itself, the way the work is going. Just design and just working in your own shell of being a designer is not enough. You need to be associated with allied industries, with allied professionals who can help your business get visibility. I really want to thank Realty Plus, Sapna and Tripti. I don't think they're here, but I really want to thank them a lot for actually putting through this insightful conversation, which is not going to only benefit industry people, but also architects and designers who are unsure on how to navigate this industry further. Without much ado, I want to get into specific in terms of numbers. When I say, especially Nisha, you will associate with this a lot. I would say, let's go back 20 years. When the number of architecture colleges all over India were 20 colleges. I got the data from the Council of Architecture website. The number of architects passing out every year were close to about 1,500 architects passing out or graduating from India in the year 2000. In the year 2023, close to 15,000 architects have passed out. The number of institutes and colleges from 20 has gone to 406. Nowhere in any other industry, I actually did a research when you look at doctors or you look at lawyers, the number of doctors in the last 20 years has gone up twofold. From 50,000, we have 1 lakh doctors graduating every year. Similarly, for lawyers, the number has shot up threefold. But in our design industry, only architects have gone up 10 times. Number of colleges have gone up 20 times. And I am only talking about architecture. There are interior design degree courses, there are interior design certificate courses. So you have a whole range of designers who are coming out in the industry ready to start their work. On the other hand, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, the number of HNI apartments, I am not talking about bungalows, were limited. Today, we have close to 150,000 ultra high-end residences available in India in 2023. If I assume at least 50% of people want to do the design, it's going to be at least 75,000 apartments. So what we are seeing a scenario over here, Sakina, is we have close to about 10 times number of architects, a million times more projects. So it's a very noisy, very crowded, and as you say, a very spoiled industry. So yes, the design landscape over here has changed. The second point I want to stress a lot about is COVID. COVID was like the scary word, but the way we worked before COVID and the way we worked after COVID, I'm sure all of you will agree, and in fact all the designers here will agree, is there has been a huge difference. Work from home, Zoom calls, collaborative working, part-time working. Also during work from home, we had a completely different industry in terms of real estate coming up. We generally do a lot of high-end residences, and we also do work with a selective set of builders for show flats and sales lounges. Post-COVID, the amount of launches of show flats and sales lounges have gone up like crazy. We used to do one show flat in about 3 months. Our company has got an achievement of doing a show flat in 14 days, which is unimaginable in the pace that we're working at. So this has changed. Thirdly, the biggest elephant in the room is technology. When I worked with Hafiz for about 10 years, and we were doing architectural work for a big project, and that time we used to do hand tracing. Big tracing papers, draw it by hand, and anything goes to go wrong, we had to redraft the entire thing again. Then we had AutoCAD. We said, "Arey, people are going to lose their jobs, poor draftsmen, kahan jayenge?" They became AutoCAD technicians. Then came 3D Max and SketchUp. Kya re, bechare perspective wale kahan jayenge? Then you have 3D Max specialists coming in. And now we have the biggest elephant in the room is AI. Ki abhi ye perspective wale kahan jayenge? But the way the industry is changing, we can't keep up pace with that. So when we see all these aspects, as designers, like I mentioned, is we are so focused and we are so engrossed in doing our trade. We are here to create spaces. We are here to create design for our clients. But to be seen and to be heard is extremely important. When I create a project, I have to weave a story around it. And this story needs to be explained not just to my client, but to an entire audience of people who are watching. Especially social media now has become such a big trend setter or rather influencer over here, is if it's good on social media, you have made it big. So with all these kind of, I would say, confusing and strange landscapes that we are facing at the moment, I have a very stellar group of panelists over here, each a superstar in their own industry over here. And I would want to interrogate actually them on what, or rather how we as designers can navigate this very confusing landscape, and how can we join hands together with them and the trades or the domains that they are so good at, and creating an amazing, memorable experience, not just for our clients or even for people to watch it, but even for the industry. How can we change standards for the industry? How can India be a storyteller to the world? So without much ado on that, I would like to start here I want to start my questions first with Nisha. Nisha, I think you were the original influencer This was before the social media, the digital media came in. I used to read your columns in midday. Yeah. And then I used to see her pictures in parties, handling the page 3 over there. And that time, page 3 was such a big element, you know. Today, it's all gone. We've got Instagram. So, Nisha, I want you to share some insights on how do you see the industry being changed from, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago to now?
So that's a very interesting question. Firstly, kudos to you for having so many statistics on the tip of your tongue. I'm so impressed by the way you just rattled it off. Because one of our panelists just said, you have notes. And I said, yeah, always. I always like to prepare. So here's the thing. I just want to say that, yes, I was one of the original influencers. I think I still am. There's a very interesting metamorphosis, and I love it because it completely democratizes our space in the world of architecture and design. We no longer have gatekeepers mitigating or dictating who's successful, who's not, who's famous, who's not. The arbiter has been finished and gone. There is no place for an editor to dictate who's going to be big and who's going to be small and who's going to be successful and who's not going to be successful.
Sakina smiling there. I'm coming back to you on that point.
It is the age of democracy and creativity and genius. And I love that because that brings the youngsters and the new age designers to the fore. Seniority only counts for something if it's genius and if it's creative. The middleman, the gatekeeper, which is the PR person, is not as important as before because everyone is their own influencer. And the influencer is not even important because she can be her own influencer and I can be my own influencer. And who wins? The person who's actually deciding. They want to do their home, they don't want to do their home, they want to do urban planning, they want to do a building. They do it based on what they see. They have great choice. They have great, it's just so much democracy out there that I am so happy to be living in an age where, you know, what used to be, you remember? She's A-list, he's B-list, he's C-list, all that is finished.
Yes.
And I love it. Because, you know, the only way that India can become a global nation is if there's a little more equality. Today, a driver's son can become a famous architect. There's no one to say, hey, he's so-and-so's son and he's so-and-so's daughter. Today, a columnist is a columnist and dictates terms only if she's speaking something that is relevant. Otherwise, even she doesn't count. I can just put a column anywhere I want. Be it WordPress, be it Blogspot. What really counts in this age is creative genius, innovation, keeping up with our times, learning new technology, becoming conversant with AI, being cognizant of a changing world and being contextual. You know, Jasmine in our little speakers room gave me a little compliment. She said, you know, you were judging our competition, our architectural work 20 years ago, and here we are sitting together as equals. I think that is democracy. That is design, you know. Nothing really counts. Seniority doesn't count. Pecking order doesn't count. A-list, B-list, C-list doesn't count. What counts is what are you putting out there? So we have a photographer on our panel who takes brilliant pictures. Somebody puts it on their Insta or on their WordPress or in a magazine. The client is the one that decides. And another very interesting change, you know, is that the client himself has so much visual context that he himself can be a designer with a few DIY models. And then you have AI to help just about everyone do just about anything in the world now. So in this changing world, I like the fact that I belong to a world where there are no gatekeepers, there are no arbiters, and there are no dictators. And that's the way I see the world of design and the general world at large changing.
Very well said, and I love your optimism because I am a bit confused, and I love this optimism that you're getting in the room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I actually believe in what I'm saying, and I was just recently in BBC Streets of Gold. Sadly, it's not showing in India. And one of the things they asked me was, oh, how do you feel about colonialism and India and what we did to India? And I said, my only answer to you is, of course, it's not relevant right now, but it is relevant that we had you had an Indian Prime Minister. You know, that just changes everything.
True.
So no longer does any pecking order count. I'm very happy to see that there are so many influencers and, like you said, so many architects to choose from. And who's to say who's famous today is not famous tomorrow? Everyone gets a chance at doing what they love doing, and so for instance, I'm thinking on my feet. I'm no longer that keen on standing with contractors and plumbers. I'm also doing interior styling. And in our changing world of graphics, AI, technology, BIM, we can just use all these tools to just revamp a house within 3 days. You just walk in and using the model of sustainability and AI and eco-friendliness, we take things that are there and repurpose and recycle. So yes, influencers do count, but what really counts is just sticking at your game and being out there and showing your stuff to the rest of your world and being your own influence, actually.
Well said, well said. I am going to come to Jasmine on a completely different aspect. Jasmine, I have seen how you've transformed spaces, the kind of flowers, the kind of perfumes, and you've taken clients to a different world. How important is storytelling to the client and to the world at large? And how do you help designers in their process of storytelling?
Thank you, first of all of you guys for being here and Realty Plus. And thank you, Santosh, for that question. I think it's a very important question because my role as an interior stylist is pretty much at the fag end of the project, where the conception and the vision starts with an architecture. My role comes right at the end, at the finishing leg of the project. Having said that, yes, of course, it's the flowers, it's the scents, but apart from that, interior styling is not just surface decoration. So as an interior stylist, it's not just photo shoot styling. As an interior stylist, the space at least that I come from and the mindset that I come from is about bringing forth the unique character and the persona and the authenticity of the person who's living in that space has to shine through. Otherwise, it's just a bare shell. Like this room could be just fabulous with the lights and the carpet, but what about the energy in the room? The people occupying that space, you know, they are the people who will bring forth their character, their nuances. You need to inject humor into a space, and that comes only not at the fag end, but it starts at pretty much halfway through the project. And I was having this interesting conversation with Sakina right before this, and she was mentioning that actually the role of an interior stylist is very important. I said, yes, it is, because you start to intervene and know the client and the architect's vision way before, and you try to seamlessly carry forward the vision, which is the ship of the captain who foresees something, and here you are taking the baton, carrying it forward seamlessly, so it's a win-win, and you're creating a synergy between the client, the architect, and yourself as to what you're bringing to the table. So when you kind of integrate all the design elements like your carpets, your art, your textiles, the colors, the balance, the symmetry, the finer details of even how the napkins are going to be rolled in your bathroom, to even tablescaping, everything counts, because when you are deeply connected to the client and the energy and who they are, that's what matters. That's when I feel my job is done well. And that's where the real synergy happens and the magic happens. Otherwise, it's like cookie cutter homes. Like you can give me 10 Pinterest images, come out from Instagram and say, this is what I want to create. But I think in the real world, where people want to shorten the gap between their travel experiences, people are very much now in tune to experiential living. They want to live with experience. How do you want to recreate that into your home? So it's not just about objects, and I never believed in that. It's not just about putting pretty things around and surrounding yourself, because if you don't speak to that object and the energy doesn't have that frequency with you, I mean, it's just there. It's just an object. So the correlation of the things that you bring into that space in vision with the architect and what's happening around, you have to be very mindful. And of course, technology. So integrating all of this is very, very important. I think that's where the interior stylist job comes in. And you bring the character at the, like I said, the end of the project. So visual storytelling through my work, I think it's very important.
Fantastic, well said. I want to get Sakina in next on this. Sakina, we as architects, let me pull my chair here so I can see all of you. Okay. So we as architects put like a years of effort on doing our sites, and we do the contractor, plumbing, electrical, everything we've done. We've passed on the baton, like Jasmine says, to the stylist, and then Kuber comes on and picturizes the whole thing, and we've got the whole thing ready. How important is your role in communicating my thought, my design process, and my perhaps unique way of vision to the entire editor lobby, like Nisha mentioned, and today we are on
gatekeepers, like Nisha mentioned.
Okay, I don't want to say that, but yeah. So, we have the entire Editors Guild who's judging and watching. And today the democracy, like Nisha said, of an entire larger nation of 180 billion people watching. How important is your role in communicating this vision?
So yes, I totally agree with what Nisha mentioned to some extent, that earlier, traditionally, PR did function that way. You had a designer doing a project, well picturized, and then it goes to the media and it's out there. Media was the only person who could get the project out there. Outreach was only through media. Social media has actually changed that. Like she very rightly put in, everybody can have a voice. That's what we call as your own media space. Your website, your social media handles, everybody gives a voice to the designer to put things out there. How good, how bad is again very, very objective. It also depends on the audience you are targeting, because like you said, it's a cluttered space. So media helps you put out good content because they are authorized and they filter that content. Social media, you can have anything and everything getting out there. That is where micro-influencers, that is the new age of social media, that come in, because they have real-time engagement. Social media gives you a two-way communication process where whatever you're putting out, you have a chance of getting a feedback. When media puts it out, when we put it out as PR and the traditional bit, you don't have a chance of getting so much of feedback. It's just out there for people to consume. Here, your consumer can give you a feedback. You can get a response. You exactly know whether this works or this doesn't work. So it helps you get a better strategy. Okay. Now, there are two ways. Either the designer uses his social media and gets his project out there, or then we as PR agency enter that space. We filter understanding what the design industry is ready to absorb. Because we understand the trends, we understand the strategy, we understand the timing. Since there is a clutter, everybody, again, it's a very volatile space. Social media absorption is very, very volatile because the content is going out like crazy. Here, now the content is the king. That content helps you develop trust, helps you relate to the influencer also. So there are some influencers who are trustworthy, and when they put out social media content, people will trust them. Whereas some influencers, you can make out that, it's a paid piece. Sure. So there are a lot of these fine blurred lines that also matter now. And for a designer, when it's all about visual delight. Visual delight with videos, visual delight with Kuber's job, that is photograph, and styling that obviously goes with it. And that is what comes out. So we as an agency, being in the industry for almost now 7 years and only doing PR for design, we've kind of learned our job well. And we also know what are the trends, what is the media looking out for. And that's where we help the clients put in the right content, and we give the media the right content in the right format. Otherwise,
So you're a matchmaker, so as to say, between the media and the architect,
yes,
right?
we try to be the best one in the lot. Okay. So that's where the PR agency makes their role.
That's interesting. I'm going to come back to many more addendas into that. So I'm moving on to Kuber. Kuber, obviously photography has always been there in our profession since time immemorial. But I can see a change in the trend of photography. Earlier, photography was done to document your projects and build a portfolio. Today, photography is about a lot more. Perhaps it's about emotions, I don't know, it's about pieces. So could you tell me, in today's change scenario, how important is photography and what can a photographer bring on a table which maybe the designers, self-photography or normal other photographers will not be able to get?
So first of all, thank you everyone for being here and thank you for the lovely introductions. I'm going to grab onto the word emotions, as you said. One of the best things that happens at the end of a photography session is when the designer will come up and say, oh, I would have never imagined the space like this.
Yes.
Or, you know, the homeowner will be like, Arey, ye to mere ghar jaisa lag hi nahi raha. And the whole thing is, you know, there are layers to it. Because I have to think about bringing about what the designer has put in. I have to show what the stylist is showcasing. I have to, you know, push it out there. So from her perspective, I have to make sure it is media worthy. Because if someone is trying to, you know, put their work out there, it has to come out in its best form. So all of this together, make it a very multifaceted thing. You know, it's not just about, as you said, going and then documenting a project because it's there. No. It's about creating that home. At the end of a photography session, you know, it's always said it's a wrap. Because that session wraps up everything from your initial sketches to what will go out in PR to how the homeowner actually visualized the space in his head before moving in, you know. They are going to look at this and say, okay, yes, this is what I wanted and this is how I want to live over here. So it's no more about documenting it technically. It's now more about bringing out that emotion, bringing out that feeling of a home being a home, and how, you know, certain elements, certain aspects from nature, from materials, from design have all come in together to make that space a viable space, which at the end is a happy feeling. You know, when you see it and that wow factor comes out is when you feel, okay, no, this was a job done right. And to bring that out is a little more challenging than one might think, you know. So it has become very important now to make sure that the images taken are from the social media perspective, from the brand perspective, from the PR perspective, but more or less not forgetting the fact that eventually you're making a picture, you're not taking a picture. And to make that picture, all these elements are required.
Well said. I'm going to come back to you, Nisha, on a point you made earlier. You are very optimistic, like you said, about the democratization of design and gatekeepers are out and all that. Yeah, we are a fantastic world right now. But isn't it a crowded, noisy world? Every single Tom, Dick and Harry is putting up pictures on social media saying, I've designed this, I've designed this, I've designed this. There would perhaps be someone who's got a very huge PR budget, who's trying to push in their products or their design aggressively across 10, 15 different platforms. And does that give them an unequal advantage of someone who's perhaps working in his own silo, someone who's really, really very good in his design? He's happy to work in his own silo and just doing that one or two projects and happy to keep it within himself. So do you think this democratization is actually a bane and not a boon?
Well, there are two things. One is that, yes, there's a lot of noise, but noise is a great leveler. You find that in a great, crowded, noisy place, it's only those who are really talented that shine through. But it does give a chance to each and every person, whether they own a, you know, a BMW 7 Series or not, to go out there and showcase their work. So, you know, whether they are branded and whether they come from a background of luxury or not, everyone has a go at it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that no one is saying that the new world doesn't allow for conventional methods. So the conventional methods still exist. You still are able to go to PR. You're still able to hire a fantastic photographer. And you know, just to add to what he says, a photographer can make or break a project.
Very
what
true.
I do to a project with my iPhone, I will never be able to do the way he does with lighting and with, taking different angles and literally bringing out a project in such an artistic way, because photography is an art and a world in itself. So there's nothing to stop a designer from using those conventional methods, but also having access to being your own spokesperson, your own voice, and your own. So today when somebody asks me, people who are uninitiated in the world of Nisha Jamvwal, that, hey, what do you do and can you show? Oh, I didn't know you're an architect. I thought you're a page 3 person, quote unquote. But all I do is say, okay, please have a look at so-and-so Instagram handle, Nisha Jamvwal Luxury, and a lot of my work is there. So you don't even have to forward a whole host of, background work that you've done. There's a lot of, work that we have put out for ourselves, the way we've put out, and have our own bylines for everything that we do. And then there are also, but I 100% agree that of course the mediocre people will have a go at it. And of course there is a chance for a client falling on his face with, being misled with photographs, with AI. There was a story just yesterday of this Bollywood couple being, the faces and bodies being changed, and there's a case on it. So AI and also digitalization can change a lot of things and, fake a lot of things. So yes, the new world also has a chance to create a lot of misnomers, a lot of problems. But who says that wasn't in place many, many years ago? But I really am very excited to be part of the changing world, because I'm exactly where you are. I was also doing those tracings on our, on those drafting
GT
boards.
tracings on Windows, we used to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was also doing those tracings, being a very hands-on person. I actually typed out my first tender for, I designed Jaipur Airport. And I never hired somebody because I wanted to learn typing. So I typed my first tender for Jaipur Airports, for Airports Authority of India. And we all did those tracings, we all did CAD, we are all using AI. What an exciting world we live in, where we can, see so much change and so much metamorphosis. And I'm actually seeing a world where clients are doing their own spaces and bring people like me to literally partner, handhold, and help, not actually dictate. So it's the end of the great dictator, which is the designer,
Ouch.
the editor, like I said, the gatekeeper, the designer, which is me, the PR, which is her. Ouch. So no, but we are all hand-holding, partnering, and collaborating, and it makes for a way more democratic and fabulous world.
Can I add to something what Nisha
Of course,
said?
I was going to come to you after this.
Very interesting, because it calls for an interesting conversation where I think we can pick up from where someone leaves last. And what Nisha mentioned is that now there are no gatekeepers. And I think in a world where we live in, yes, I agree, there's a lot of noise, but that's where the real talent also gets to showcase and the real authenticity comes, because if somebody is not in a position to make it to the editorial team or make it to a publication, yes, like they say, if you cannot make it there, at least you can create your own platform. You don't have a table to sit on, create your own table. So this is the world where we live in, where you can create a place for yourself and make a mark for yourself, and you need not be the most famous, need not be the most successful, and that's again a very relative term. So this social media and the noise that we are living in, but yes, at the same time, it's giving every individual the opportunity to shine, to believe in their dream.
And also, Jasmine, age is not any more so important.
Absolutely.
Because there was this young starry-eyed architect who came to me to take a picture with me nearly 15 years ago. And he's one of the most important designers in our age now. So, and he's also one of the youngest. So age doesn't matter. But for me, the more important thing, Santosh, is that, the socio-economic background doesn't matter. For me, in a country like India, bridging the gap and some level of equality is very, very important if we want a successful, a globalized India. Because in my opinion, having lived and worked in Japan, in America, in Florence, I see a country where we really need to bring that leveler in, We need to bridge that have and have not situation very drastically. So that for me is, and like you said, the most important thing in the world right now is to have that leveler, and a crowd sometimes is a leveler.
Adding on to that point, Sakina, this is a question I have for you. Like she's saying, it's a great leveler. And you are the antithesis of a great leveler. You are here to select a few and take them up to that status. So how do you differentiate the levelers, and how do you differentiate your clients and who's going to be the big guy, or rather how would you rather promote someone, and what are the factors that you look at in promoting some designer?
No, so we don't work at promoting anyone. So when a brand comes up to us, now all the designers are brands in their own space. So for a PR agency, we actually understand what they're looking out for. We understand their brand vision. And if that is something we can help them achieve, provided their work speaks for that, then we go all out. So we help you create perceptions, but we see to it that the brand is equipped and can cope with that perception. Because we also believe in a lot of honesty and transparency. Yeah, this other mediums gives you a chance to be dishonest. There can be crazy storytelling.
Yes.
You know, and we go through that. But as long as possible, the core of our agency has been honesty. And we only create perceptions when we know that the brand is ready to cope with it. So that's the differentiator.
So it's heartening to know that even in this crowded, noisy place, you're looking at authenticity and helping them take it further, right?
Absolutely, because it shows in your work, it shows in the person that you're dealing with. Now it's not only about the work. Every project has a face. And that face is the one that your end consumer relates to. Like if I'm putting a project in low apparel, I need to know who's the designer. And that designer is the brand for that project now. So that's a different landscape again. That designer is now the new influencer, where he is endorsing the brands he's used over there. So we also are very, very careful in picking up the brands that we work with.
And also, Sakina, not everyone is an influencer and a designer. There are lots of people who are not comfortable with social media and feel very, very reticent and shy. True. And then the PR is very, very important for those people in a crowded, noisy world, for them also to develop a voice through channels like PR, where they take assistance and help to bring out their work. And in a world that we live in, they need that more than before.
Absolutely. You know, so that's where strategy comes in. Because design PR is very different from any other PR. And that's because there's a fatigue factor that can come in. So this social media can add to that fatigue factor. There's something called an overexposure.
True.
Which we advise our clients, and we frame the strategy in such a way that you don't lead there. And because you guys do one project over a year, and we have to churn content over that year. So we very strategically put out content which does not go over the top, as well as well consumed.
Having said that, I have a question for Kuber and Jasmine. I know how you've worked, and we were, actually behind the scenes we had a group discussion where I wrote quite a few points and we thrashed all of them because we want to go very organic here. Jasmine mentioned about Mind Valley that she was into. I hope I'm allowed to say that. Okay.
Mind Valley. It's one of the largest platforms for transformational learning.
And she's speaking about vibe, she's speaking about aura, she's speaking about energy. And Kuber, I have a site, okay? It may not be a picturesque or a photogenic site as such. But the minute I step on that site, the vibes that she creates, or rather I create over there, are stunning. In this scenario, how do you capture the essence of a site, which perhaps she's put together, maybe it's smelling very beautiful, it is not visible somewhere. How do we capture the non-tangible into something that people can understand in terms of photography or in terms of your styling?
Okay. So I'm going to do a little demo here. That's like my favorite. It also moves people, and I think we need the energy in the room.
Of course, please go ahead.
Can you all tell me over here, as you can see all of us right here, right, with this amazing panel on these amazing chandeliers, there's one eyesore right here on the table that if one of you all can tell me, which is not belonging in the right place. I'm talking from the aesthetic part. Sorry? Someone said something? Water bottles, you're absolutely right.
You get a
Sitting-
prize for guessing that right.
You're sitting right in front, they're sitting right in front, and this is exactly where the stylist job comes in. This is exactly where Kuber, a photographer, creative photographer, this is all about visual storytelling. Now this, no offense to anyone, whoever's put it, thank you, gratitude for giving us water, but this can definitely be kept out of sight or kept down by the chair for every speaker. Yes, function is important, please do not forget. But why do we have to be just survivors? I think Indians for the longest time have lived from a place of the survival mode. I think it's high time we give up that. Can we be a little bit more aesthetic in day-to-day life? And design cannot be on a pedestal. We need to normalize design in everyday life and make it a part of our life. So if the same bottles were to come down, I mean, we could really enjoy the space much more better. So I think visual storytelling, and that's where the synergy works with the photographer, where we are looking at that, say, just one particular shot together, but the visual storytelling, the energy that I bring to it is through a communication which is very deep. For someone, it looks like, okay, we've just come and put this flower vase, but it's not just a flower vase. Do I put it in the center? Do I put it off center? Do I need the bottles around it? What is the balance of the room? Everything matters. And that is something which is deep, it's science. But that translates eventually through many, many layers and through many professionals like these who collaborate. And this is where the ancillary services are collaborating to collaborate into a successful design project. I think that's where I come from. So, Kuber, what do you have to say about that?
Absolutely, totally in agreement with you. Coming back to what he said, if the space has not been designed or it was just some space that I did up, I think as a designer, you would not just do it that way. You would put some thought into bringing out, some aspect of it, add some life to it. And generally what happens is in the beginning, there's always this half an hour candid conversation with every designer where they'll be like, oh, you see this chair, how do you like it? I got this from here. And this corner, what do you think of this material? Will this photograph right? There are some textures that I've used, maybe a lime finish or a concrete stucco or something of that sort. And these conversations, they stay in our heads because this is what we then translate into an image. So the moment Jasmine will come in, she'll do her thing, she'll put the bottles away. She'll get what needs to be seen up in the front. And then we create that frame, that mood, which was your visualization initially. And the translation over there is very important. It is very important for me to show the world what you were thinking of in your head and as to why a certain space has come up the way it has. And that is very important.
On that, I'm going to ask you a trade secret question. I hope I'm allowed to ask you that. We've got magazines. Each has their own vision of what should be published, what should be not. When I have you on board as my photographer, do you think from a magazine's point of view, okay, oh, this is going to be making the cover page of magazine A, oh, nahi, ye magazine B mein jayega? Or do you have your own generic process which you want it to be featured in a particular way?
So, yes, you're right. Sometimes homes have a vibe which go with a certain magazine. I personally don't do that. If there's a magazine, which is at the top of the mountain, I will always aim for that project to go there. That is how I will shoot it. Aim for the stars. Fir wo B mein gaya, C mein gaya, that is then the potential of the house itself. But from my point of view, I will always try and get it out onto the top. The reason being, you spoke about the noise earlier. And it is important for that noise to also be heard. There are certain people, certain homes which are kind of, subtle in their noisiness. And for that noise to be heard above all the loudness that is happening over there is what my job is. And I would try to bring that out. I would try to make sure that somewhere, somehow, this house, for whatever it is worth, is seen. And it is seen in the right place. And that will be my aim. Uske baad, whatever it actually reaches based on its own potential, is then a factor of how much work was put in.
But do you need a
Santosh,
Jasmine?
I want to add to him.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Because I don't know if you're aware, I've been writing for Good Homes magazine and all the architectural magazines in India for the last 20 years.
Okay.
And a photographer never ever, at least an editorial photographer, never works alone. So me as a columnist and an editor has always worked with a photographer. And that's why right in the beginning I told you how important a photographer is and how important a vision is. So it's a collaboration between a photographer and an editor and a columnist where we work. And it, believe it or not, sometimes it takes 2 to 6 days to style a home and to do a photography shoot, we travel to different parts in the world, bringing content, and with the passage of time, content is becoming only more and more important. And that's something that as yet, I can't predict the future, but as yet AI does not have that perspective that two human beings have on a home or on a corner or on a chair. And it's a very collaborative journey of the writing and the photography, which together bring a graphic visual interpretation of a office or a home or a city to all the viewers of that particular space.
Taking this point ahead, Sakina, I just want to nudge you a bit over here is, we have established a symbiotic relationship, so to say, between the photographer, stylist, and an editorial over here. Going ahead, do you think there are any other collateral domains which will, in the next 2 years, 5 years, which can get add-on to this panel further, apart from the 3 agencies that we have over here?
For design, maybe yes, because now, you have these, content, like I said, is the king. And anybody who can collaborate in making good content would definitely be a part of way forward.
But content writing, again, like Nisha is mentioning, AI has taken over most of content writing. I just put 2 tags,
AI is
hashtags.
Assisting. I don't think they've taken over.
Okay.
They're right now assisting. At least the designers are using them for assisting. Photography, I don't think AI would take over.
Let's hope so, Kuber.
No, because see, even to make the place holistic, all the agencies need to come together. There are a lot of, like Jasmine put it so well, that there are emotions which AI will not be able to take over. That emotion, that sensitivity to the project, like that's why I told you behind that you need to be there when your project is being shot. Because that narration that you will share on that day is what Kuber will capture.
True. Actually, we should be talking to you before the project starts. Yes. Because it's so frustrating. The end of the project is already over. You don't want to go to site again. Yeah, just like, khatam ho gaya project here.
No, but contrary to what she said, there are a few young designers over there who will come up to you and say, I want my project published, but I have no clue as to what needs to be done. And in these situations, we reach out to maybe Jasmine or someone, who can style the project right or help them. Because it's a very different world now. There are many out there who don't know how to voice, put their work out there.
No, I wasn't talking about actually packaging the project. I was talking about purely editorial.
Okay.
Where an author or a writer is also their own stylist in collaboration with a photographer.
True.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And very often an architect is a stylist himself. He doesn't need somebody else. And he collaborates with a photographer. And together they bring out a photography, kind of a portfolio, which becomes the most important thing. And then you hand that to somebody like Sakina. And it's a team effort where you present something so magical that, in my opinion, at this moment, AI cannot take over that.
No, absolutely.
But as Santosh mentioned already at the beginning, right, that we used to do hand tracing and all of the work by hand, and then AutoCAD came and you were like, oh my God, is AutoCAD or these techs going to take over? But that never happened. You still need the human intervention to even do the right kind of AI. So the prompt that you give to the AI is very important. So nothing can ever replace, but we just need to upgrade our skills and just walk hand in hand with it.
If you still go to Mr. Hafiz contractor's office, Hafiz is still sitting and only sketching on the tracing paper. I don't think I have ever gone to meet him where he's out with an AutoCAD there is no computer.
He's tracing papers as ammunition. The paper and the pencil comes out and he's
on his table. Yeah. And I tell him, I said, I sent you that. Did you take a look? He's like, no, get it out here. I am not taking a look. Give me a written printout. So that's the whole thing. Even Hafiz still sketches. So we have a lot of designers who still prefer to do their sketching because I think that also gives them content. They feel happy doing it.
Sakina, what happens is, as a designer, it's a part of my process. Today, I have everything, but still I will sketch my elevations because I want to see the proportion, I want to see the molding, how it's going. I still do mock-ups on site. I still hold my fabric, I still hold my wallpaper. Acha dikh raha hai, ye angle 2 inch upar. Because apart from the process, it's more fun. True. That's what, as designers, we are hands-on. We want to feel, we want to experience, we want those emotions to come out of ourselves first. Then they can come on a site,
I think that's where the 5th dimension I was talking to you comes in, where we are still humans at the end of the day. We still have the emotions, the touch and feel aspect to it, the fifth sense, and beyond that, we going into higher space, the realm of higher consciousness, the realm of energy, the frequency that we are vibrating at, all of us right now. So that's where I think can never be replaced by technology, AI, or whatever you may call it. So that part of us can never be taken away, because that's where we, I think, going back to our roots. That's where we connect the most, when we are physically in the environment and you're experiencing something, because it's all about human experience. And human design is nothing but just that.
I think we are going a little bit in a serious direction. I want to break the flow. I'm going to ask you a crazy question, Jasmine. Name your dream client. I mean, don't name him. Just give me the characters of your dream client that you like to work with.
Well, I have already put it up on my manifestation my vision board, because I believe a lot in that, and that's how mine.
He's sitting somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure someone's going to come and give you a project here right now.
Well, he's international celebrity. I will not say the name, but I've put the name out there. And he's super fun, and he's also a lot into growth mindset and entertains. He's in the entertainment industry, and I've always related to his movies and his passion and his dedication to his craft. And when I relate to someone, I don't know, one fine day it was just a name that came to my head, and I believe a lot. I'm very instinctive, so that's the name I have.
But I'm asking you for a character.
I will come back to a stage one day and probably reveal that name, and I know it'll happen.
Pakka. I'll wait for the big reveal.
Yes.
But I want you to tell me the characters. So I know you work with
dream
architects
client, yeah.
and you work with a lot of difficult ones. I hope I'm not one of those. But
No, you're not.
Oh, thank you. I'm relieved. Okay, so what are those characters that you're looking for, be it architects that you're working with? Who do you think you can have a good relationship with?
I think dream clients are the one who trust you completely. Because if you're in the space where you trust your designer, and of course you give a lowdown, you tell them who you are, you need to give them the design briefs and what are your budgets and all the prerequisites. But after that, if you give the trust to your designer, trust me, your home, your space is going to turn out the most beautiful, because the entire onus is on me. I want to work not like 10 on 10, I want to do 20 on 10 for that client, for that project, because it's as much as my baby, even otherwise it is, but here I've just got a complete free hand. And I want to go more in detail. I want to go nudge the client or the architect more to know what is it that it takes to make this client like from A to A+. So the dream client traits are, of course, the trust factor, someone who also trusts you with their budget and the, I think, the overall space. So, yeah.
Sakina, coming to you, your dream client.
Every client is a dream client. We are like realistic. So international to go definitely is also what we have. But we are the ones who actually get those dreams happen for the client. You know, so I think we're quite okay. We don't have real aspirational dream clients. We are very comfortable and very happy with the clients that we have right now. We have most of the best in the industry, and whoever's not with us, so you got to hear this.
Okay. The gentleman behind me is breathing down my neck. So Kuber, quickly for you, the dream project.
So I'm not going to be as politically correct as her, but to be honest, someone who makes a great design, a great concept, and someone who once done that will come to me and say, okay, you know, now you have this, do your thing.
And
That would be
pay
the
you
dream
well.
client. Sorry?
Pay you well.
Generally, they always pay well, but yeah, you know, mostly a good design is where it all begins. You know, if you're given something nice to start with, then that level of excitement, that level of, dedication automatically comes. 70% of the job is done with a project which is good.
Nisha, the last word from you is your dream project.
I've worked with a lot of Bollywood and international stars, and my dream project is, and my dream clients are literally the people who don't have access to great design. I feel the challenge and the joy when I can literally go into a place and transform for a person that really doesn't have that access. And I actually do it. I'm working in Orissa, I'm working in Jharkhand, I'm working in shanty towns in Delhi and Bombay to help transform spaces and use, recycle, repurpose, reuse, and work with sustainable materials rather than swanky international, Hollywood stars. I'd rather work at the grassroots of India, and I'm not being politically correct. I speak from my heart. If you go out and Google me, you'll see I'm working in Bisam Katak in Orissa. I'm working in Malad, Mulund, Dombivli. I don't want to be elitist. I want to reach out, and like Sakina says, everyone who wants a little design in their space, wants a little style, and no, I'm not working with big budgets. Been there, done that. I'm happy to do work free for nearly nothing, because for me, what really drives me is metamorphosis, change, and the new India.
Nobody asked me my dream project, but I hope all of you are on board for a dream project next, and let's crack it together. Having said that, I'd like to wrap up this session. I wish we had more time and to delve more on these points. But thank you very much, Realty Plus, Tripti, Sapna, for this amazing session. It's such a huge eye-opener for designers like us, and there are many more in the audience. I'm sure this is also going to be on social media, so many more will really benefit from this. Superb. So thank you so much for this session. Appreciate this.
Ladies and
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
a huge round of applause, please.
Yeah, and thank you, Tripti and Sapna. I've been seeing you for years in the background, working your guts out and putting everything together so beautifully. But for you, we wouldn't be here, because we wouldn't want to be here without you. Thank you.
The other side voice was missing, the media side, the edit, what we want. Yeah, you would have justified. But that will be a conversation for some other time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please a huge round of applause for all of them over here.